Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Sweet. This week we are going to be learning about area and perimeter for our math lesson. Let's get started. Area and perimeter are two things that we really need to know how to use in the real world. If you were thinking about putting a playground at a park, how much area would you need for that? Which means how much space would you need? And what if you wanted to put a fence around the park? What length perimeter would the fence be? So how much fencing would you need to go around the outside of the shape? When we talk about area, area is defined as the space or surface area inside a shape. When we talk about perimeter, perimeter is the distance around the outside of the shape. And when we measure area, we use a measurement called square units because we can't measure from one end to the other like we would with a ruler. We're measuring the entire space it takes up. So we measure it using square units. When we measure perimeter, we are able to measure like with a ruler. So we would measure it using units, and it might be inches, feet, or miles. But sometimes we only get the length and the width of a shape. If we only get the length and the width of a shape, we have to multiply those two to figure out the area. So imagine that there were a row of 5, and then you had 4 rows of 5. 5 times 4 equals 20, 20 square feet. Now imagine if you had a shape that was 3 feet by 3 feet. How could we find the area? Well, we could multiply the length and the width. So imagine you had 3 rows of 3 units. And so our equation would be 3 times 3 equals 9. And what measurement do we use when we measure area? We measure using square feet. If you take a look at this one, this time we're going to find the perimeter. That is the distance around the outside. Here, all you have to do is add 3 plus 3 plus 8 plus 8, and you would get 22 inches around the edge. Now here we see one of those shapes that has the units inside the little boxes. This time we have to count around the edge of the box. And so if you count with me, count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is 12 units because we added 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, and it equals 12. So the perimeter of that entire shape is 12 units. Now, why do we need to know area and perimeter? There's a very important reason we need to know area and perimeter. If you take a look, there's my backyard. But what does that have to do with area and perimeter? Well, you're going to find out. So hold on to your horses. Hey, boys and girls, you just saw a picture of my backyard. What does that have to do with our math lesson this week? Well, this week we are learning in math about area and perimeter. So I want to put a new fence around my backyard, but I'm not sure how many feet of fence I need. And when I go to the home improvement store, they're going to ask me, how many feet of chain link fence do you need? I guess I need to be able to figure out the perimeter of my backyard. But I have one big problem. If my yard was a perfect square, it would be easy, but it's not. I'm going to show you today how to find the perimeter and the area of shapes that are not perfect squares and rectangles. So let's get started. Okay, boys and girls, so here I have an aerial view of my backyard. I want to put a brand new fence all the way around the perimeter of my backyard. When I go to the home improvement store, the first thing they're going to ask me is, Miss Sweet, how many feet of fence do you need? If I go into the home improvement store and don't know how many feet of fencing I need, I'm in trouble. So here's an easy way to figure it out. When we try to figure out the perimeter of a figure, all I have to do is add up all of the sides. So at the top, I have 40 feet. Then along this side, the length of that part of the fence is 20 feet. Down here is 35 feet. Over here, I can't forget this little piece down here. My dogs like to run there, and that's where I need the fence the most. So this little piece here is 10 feet. I have a piece at the front that's 5 feet. Uh-oh, what do you see wrong with that? I didn't line it up in the ones place. You're exactly right. And up this side is 30 feet. So I want to make sure that I have all my ones places lined up and all of my tens places lined up. Once I have those in line, then all I need to do to find the perimeter is add. So I have all these zeros, which I can just ignore because they don't have a value of anything. 5 plus 5 is 10. You're exactly right. I drop my 0. I carry my 1. 1 plus 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 plus another 2 is 7. 7 plus another 3 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. And 11 plus 3 is 14. So total, the perimeter of my yard is 140 feet. So now when I go to the home improvement store, I know exactly how much fencing to get. That's awesome, guys. You just were able to figure out the perimeter of the space. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to be learning about the area and perimeter of figures. And if you see here, we have this figure in the middle. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. So it's the distance around the outside. And the area is the space a shape takes up on the inside. We measure these using different things. In perimeter, because we can measure from the beginning to the end with a ruler, we measure it using units, like inches, feet, or miles. But with area, because we're measuring the space a shape takes up on the inside, you can't measure it from beginning to end. So we measure it using square units, or square inches, or square miles. So today we're going to be figuring out how to find the perimeter of the figure that we have here. All we have to do is count around every side of this figure. So start counting with me. 1, 2. Now we have to go down this side. 3, 4, 5, 6. You notice I'm putting a mark into every block because we count each of these as a unit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So the perimeter of this shape would be 16 units. Now, if I'm going to find the area of this shape, now remember, area is how much space the whole figure takes up. This time, all we're going to do is we are going to count inside of the blocks. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This time, we're not measuring with a ruler from front to back. We're measuring the entire space that shape takes up. So instead of measuring in just units, this time we measure it in square units. So the area of this figure would be 10 square units. If they had given us the measurement inches or feet, we would say square inches or square feet. But because we're not sure of what measurement they used, we just use the measurement unit. That means 1 piece. All right, let's take a look at another type of figure and see if we can figure out the area and perimeter of that shape. Okay, now we have a different type of figure. We're still going to be finding the area and the perimeter of this shape. Remember, the perimeter is the distance around the outside, and the area is the space that the inside takes up. So let's work on finding the perimeter first. I noticed something different about this figure. We have measurements on almost all of the sides, but we're missing several of the measurements. If you notice, I'm missing this side right here. But I know that if this side measures 1 centimeter, this side is also going to measure 1 centimeter. So I filled in that missing piece. I have the undersides here. I have this measurement, which is 3 centimeters. But I'm missing this side over here. So I know if this side measures 3 centimeters, this side is going to measure 3 centimeters. Now, the hard part is going to be finding the measurement at the bottom. Because I have all these different pieces up here, I have to use my brain power and figure it out. Well, this whole side is 4 centimeters, but look, it comes out farther than the bottom. So this bottom cannot be 4 centimeters. Well, I have this piece here, which is 1, and this piece here, which is 1. So imagine I have a piece that's 4 inches long, and I take away 1. What is 4 take away 1? Well, that's 3. But then I have this other piece over here that I need to take away. So I have 4, and this time I need to take away 2 centimeters total. So if I have 4 centimeters and I take away 2, I have 2 centimeters left. So the bottom of the shape is going to be 2 centimeters. So now, can we figure out the perimeter of our whole shape? Of course we can. I'm going to add 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1. And when we add all of those together, 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 plus 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 plus 2, 10, 11, 11 plus 3, 12, 13, 14, 14 plus 1 is 15, and 15 plus 1 is 16. So our perimeter is 16 centimeters. Now, the area of this shape is going to be a little bit more difficult. With the shape that we had before, we could just count around the boxes, but this one doesn't have boxes. We learned in another lesson this week that in order to find the area of a shape, you multiply length times width, which means you multiply how long the shape is by how wide the shape is. So let's use that formula to figure out our area. But I don't have a perfect rectangle. So what I'm going to have to do is I am going to subdivide. Everybody say subdivide. All that means is I am going to split these apart to make rectangles. I am going to cut my shape right here. Now, do you see the 2 rectangles appear? I do. So let's use our formula length times width to find the area. Here we go. I'm going to start with the top shape. My length of this shape is 4 centimeters. And I'm going to multiply that by the width, which is 1 centimeter. 4 times 1 equals 4. And it's not just centimeters. We measure area using square units. So it's square centimeters. Good job. Now let's look at our bottom rectangle. I know that my length is 3 centimeters and my width is 2 centimeters. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 2, and that equals 6 square, that's exactly right, 6 square centimeters. In order to find the area of this whole figure, I'm going to put these two together. So I'm going to put together 4 and 6. What operation is it called when we put things together or combine them? You're exactly right, it's addition. So for the area of this figure, I multiplied my length times my width, and now I'm going to add the total area of this shape plus the total area of this shape. And 4 plus 6 equals 10. And we don't just measure it using centimeters, we measure it using square centimeters. So we just figured out the area and the perimeter of this whole figure. Way to go, guys. That's really impressive. All right, guys. Well, we have learned about area and perimeter. Area is the space that a shape takes up on the inside, and perimeter is the distance around the outside of the shape. If you need help or you need any practice, you can visit Miss Sweet's webpage at fvsweet.weebly.com, and that is fvsweet.weebly.com. If you go under the Math tab and go to the Area and Perimeter page, you will find some games and some links and some charts and videos to help you understand it better. I hope you guys are doing well. I miss you very much. Keep practicing your math.